there, friends. This is Stephanie Bennett with you again in The Secret Place. And I am reading from a book called A Tree Full of Angels by Macrina Wiederkehr. The subtitle is Seeing the Holy in the Ordinary. I read this book first about 35 years ago, and I've held it close, and this is my second copy of it, because there was something about it that was very transformative and hugely insightful. And the cool thing is it continues to give me insight. It continues to produce much insight and beauty and understanding in my life, even at this ripe old age. Let me read you a little passage from it, yes? We're talking about home and the fact that running away from home is not all that uncommon. Macrina says, I have cherished memories of my parents, my brothers, my sisters, the country, the gardens, the pine trees, the grape vineyards, homemade bread and wine, poverty, faith, God, Sunday afternoons. It was not a home where I received everything I needed, but it was enough to get me started. While I was living in this home, I didn't understand it very well. It often takes a backward reflective glance to understand the depths of things. It is catching up to me a little bit more each day, this first home of mine. And I am becoming aware of all the little ways I ran away from that home, even while living in it. I disappeared a lot as a child. It was a creative way It was a creative way of surviving. I ran away to the forest that surrounded our farm. It became a place of solitude for me, a second home tucked away in the green of the trees. Not all running away is harmful. Sometimes it's a necessary part of growth. Even now, I'm discovering ways that I return to that first home. There is a child in me who needs to be embraced again and again. The reason for my flight as a child came from a wisdom I was too young to understand. Now in my later years, I can harvest the wisdom of my childhood. I treasure those precious roots, knowing that I have grown wings, that I must move on. I must let go. Isn't that so important? Have any of you ever had that experience? She calls it the creative way of surviving is disappear into the woods. It really brought me right back to my childhood. We lived in this big old Victorian house in a little town in New Jersey, and it was not rural, but it was a big backyard, and it butted up against probably 4 lots that have since then become houses on them, but 4 lots of woods. It was just lots and lots of trees. And, as a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, when I would just venture 5 or 6 feet behind the swing set to peer into those woods, thick woods, who knew what was in there? I did not know. And there was a sense of adventure that I kind of connected with that wood. I didn't even call it a wooded lot back then. I remember thinking of it as the forest. That was the forest. I would never venture in too deeply, at least not the first couple of years we were there. Probably not until I was about 11, where I started actually walking into this deep woods. But at that point, when I started walking in, I let my curiosity overcome my fear. It was a place in New Jersey that did not have black bears in people's backyards. But I didn't know that. And I just knew bears were in the woods and the forest. And I didn't want to go in because I thought, what if there was a bear there? I was reticent even then, not a big risk taker as a kid. But I finally did start going in, peering in, and then stepping in 2 feet. And then in 5 feet or 10 feet, I could still see the house, up ahead behind me, actually. And I would love to then, I got more comfortable there, and I would sit on a big old log that was a felled tree, actually. And I called it the Jersey Turnpike because it had this strange turn. It was large, and it had this strange turn, and then I could lean against it. And everyone thinks of me as such an extrovert, and I've thought of myself as an extrovert too, but even back then I was completely opposite. I loved the solitude. I loved looking at the sky through the trees. I loved looking at the whatever kind of foliage was all around me there, and just being curious about it and liking the bird song and whatnot. Don't forget, I said we had 6 children in our family. My mother had 6 of us within 9 years. So there was a lot of noise in our house all the time, almost sometimes just chaos. But I love those backwoods. And I would disappear into there for like 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, probably not much more than that before my mom came looking for me. But I would love that place that I felt like I could get more in touch with. Now, don't forget, I wasn't thinking this way when I was that age, but looking back, like Macrina talked about, I could get more in touch with who I was and my own thoughts, and became a little, I would say, introspective and, curious as a kid, more so than just, I was not an oblivious kid. I was always thinking about something. In any case, I wonder about you. Have you any places that you remember that you used to disappear into, or used to find it and just get yourself all like enthralled with the environment or nature, to get in touch with really who you are and your thoughts? Because I would love to hear that. I love to share that with you, and I would love to hear what some of your impressions are and some of your experiences are. If you think about it and have some time to leave a comment, I'd love to hear it. God gives us the beauty of nature to help us get in touch with not just Him, but help us get in touch with ourselves. And again, as Macrina says, with the child inside of ourselves. I really think that maybe not everyone's going to therapy and doing deep look into their childhood, but I think getting back in touch with some of our childhood dreams and our childhood thoughts and reflections is a good practice. It's a very grounding practice. I'm trying to do that a little bit more these days. I hope that you're going to have a wonderful week, and I'm so glad that you've come in to hear this little message. And I hope that you bought this book by Macrina Wiederkehr. She is one of my favorites, and I'm so thankful for her. And another two episodes on home we'll be talking about next week and then the week after. So I hope you'll come back, and I hope you'll leave me a message and we can chat. God bless you, friends. I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for your encouragement. Bye-bye.